It's safe to say that electric cars have struggled to gain much of a foothold with some car enthusiasts. And it's not hard to see why, given that outside of Porsche and more recent models from Abarth and Hyundai, an aspirational EV that really feels brilliant to drive has been a rare thing. But now, MG wants a slice of the action. Welcome then to another new era for MG, the Cyberster. I mean, how good does this thing look? It looks absolutely spectacular. I actually think it looks almost quite Maserati-ish, and I can't think of a greater compliment than that. I really do think this looks just wonderful. So good job on that, MG. So we're talking about pure electric car, obviously. 74.4 kilowatt hour battery, which is good for a range of up to 316 miles if you go for the single motor version. But if you go for the full fat all-wheel drive GT that we have got here, which has got 503 brake horsepower and does 0 to 62 in 3.2 seconds, well then the range does drop to about 267 miles officially, that is. And pricing, I have had people tell me they think this probably costs 150 grand. Actually, 55 for the standard single motor, or for this GT, £60,000. For a car that, if you charge at home, will cost usefully less than 10 pence per mile to fuel, and that a lot of people mistake for a Lamborghini given the fancy scissor doors, you've got to think that MG's onto something. It's not just about looking good either, the Cyberster. MG is very keen to let you know that it's also about ease of use on a daily basis. Now, I've been living with this car for nearly 2 months, which has been really interesting. One of the good things, you can get a full weekly shop in there, not a bad boot, and when you drop the hood, that doesn't affect the boot space either. So that's really good. Get all your stuff in there, and then you can flap your doors around and whoosh out of the car park in a sort of look at me vibe. Nice. So, you've done your shop. You're going to flap your doors around now. Oh, it's not ideal, is it? Give me a minute, we'll get in a second. Here we go. I'll stand further back, shall I? Fancy. Not the quickest, though. If that's not annoying enough, the MG will also beep its horn at you if you dare to try and lock it before the door is fully closed. Through the magic of video editing, I have de-bobble-hatted, and we are now inside the MG Cyberster, which, on first impressions, you get in and you think, oh, this is fancy, because there's a lot of screens and they're all canted towards the driver. Get a fancy steering wheel with a big red button and some paddles. All the things that you want from a sports car. However, this is the most impenetrable interface I've experienced on a car for many, many years. I've had this car for 2 months and I still can't get on with these touchscreens. I find them really frustrating. I'm sorry, MG, because I know that this car, you've tried hard with this car. This interface doesn't work. The sat-nav screen is up here. None of the screens respond terribly quickly. It's quite small and it's right behind where your hand is on the steering wheel, so you can't see the sat-nav, which is really annoying. So you're constantly peering around your own hand to actually see the sat-nav. There's another screen up here. This has got all your charging stuff. This has got your energy consumption, vehicle to load. So you do get vehicle to load, that's good. So you can charge your electrical devices from the car's high voltage battery. Other than that, this screen appears to just offer you test drives at MG and tell you where MG dealerships are. And also what I don't understand is there's a brightness setting on here as well. So you've got general settings, so you can change your language and your time and all of that stuff. But that only affects these screens up here behind the steering wheel. So if you want to change the brightness on this other screen, which is your fourth screen down here, which has got all your climate on it, you have to do that separately again in the settings on this screen. So that's annoying when you're driving at night and you want to reduce the glare from all of your screens. And while you're faffing about trying to make the screens not glare at you so brightly that you can't see anything outside of the car will then start beeping at you to tell you to watch the road or take a nap or possibly both. In the meantime, you're also trying to turn the lane keep assist off. That too is really difficult to do because it's one press in here, it's quite a slow screen too. So you're waiting for it to load and then you have to swipe across and then you have to access a menu and then you have to swipe down and then you have to swipe again and then you have to confirm. Also, while you're doing that, obviously the car is still beeping at you, telling you to look at the road. So I feel like this really colours the whole experience of the car. You can't get away from it. There are so many irritations that I've just listed, and I haven't even mentioned that when you get in, it tells you what the date is, where you are, what the weather is, even though you can see all of that by looking out of the car's windows. And I can't figure out how to turn that off. So if you get in really late at night or really early in the morning, you will announce to the street what time you're getting into your car and leaving. Very annoying. So many annoying features that I feel MG haven't considered with this interface that kind of really taints the car. Anyway, suffice to say that there are some irritations with the Cyberster's interior and screens, but at least the charging tech is pretty good. It'll charge up to 144 kilowatts at a rapid charger, which is good for a 10 to 80% charge in around 40 minutes. Right, let's talk about some good stuff about the MG Cyberster. For a start, this is obviously an MG, and MG has a very long history of building roadsters, which this is. Nice soft top. They might do a coupe version of this. We all know MG is owned by SAIC, which is a Chinese company, but it is a British brand and it has a very long history of building roadsters. And in fact, there are engineers at Longbridge in the UK who have had a say in the way this car is set up, and there's been testing in the UK, and they have gone to lengths to really try and make this car good for the UK buyers, for the people who might be looking at this and thinking, oh, an MG Roadster. It is rapid. Big red button here on the steering wheel, Super Sport. Right, hit that. It's like you've suddenly entered computer game mode and the world is going backwards. But there are also more drive modes, and you toggle through them with this right-hand paddle, which once you've figured out that that's where they are, that's absolutely fine, actually quite convenient. So you've got custom, you can change your adaptive bits, sport and comfort. Now, comfort really kills the throttle response, so suddenly your really powerful car doesn't feel that powerful. But on everyday stuff, I've been sticking with that, and it's not too bad. Really nice, smooth throttle response. Brake feel could be a bit better, but it's absolutely fine. Or you can stick it in sport, and suddenly everything really tautens up, and you get a kind of happy medium between that slightly spongy comfort mode and the completely lunatic Super Sport. The vertical damping is a bit bouncy. So on these roads aren't great around here, particularly faster roads, you get a kind of slightly restless kind of bobbing about it, because this is not a lightweight car, and you do feel that. But it's not too bad. I think more than that, the biggest problem is that that can cause the wheels to actually lose traction with the tarmac sometimes, particularly mid-corner if you're doing a fast corner, and that can cause you to really kind of lose a bit of faith in what the car's doing at that critical moment. Don't get me wrong, it's not in any way dangerous, it's not that alarming even, but it's just not as confident and planted and supple and lovely as, let's face it, other petrol-powered roadsters that you can get for this price. Put it out there, Porsche Boxster. That's what this car has to compete with. And it's just not as good in terms of handling and ride as that. It's a much heavier car and you can feel that. But this is also a car that's going to cost you a lot less to run. So look, that's all pretty good. You've even got 3 levels of brake regen, which you toggle through with this paddle. Like that gives you good control. And there's a 1 pedal mode, but it's hidden in this screen and it's really hard to access. And frankly, I can't be bothered to faff about with it because it's just too awkward to access and turn off and on. It handles fine as well. So, you know, the steering doesn't have a huge amount of feel, but it's weighted nicely. You get a really nice sort of dive into the corners. I will also say that actually it's really not a bad long distance commuter because the refinement's really very good. As I've mentioned, the seat really does need to drop more. That's quite a problem. If you're over 6 foot, I literally don't think you're going to fit comfortably in this car. I think you're going to struggle. I think the cockpit looks cool. It's all very fighter piloty, all of that stuff. You can change the graphics on the screen. I like the paddles. I like the steering wheel. Performance is great, and the way it handles and the ride is fine, provided you're not expecting, you know, Porsche or, you know, BMW levels of, you know, handling joy and kind of zinginess and real kind of tactility. That's just not there. But as a GT, even in winter, it's pretty good. As for the range, our Cyberster GT here has a claimed range of over 270 miles. But in the real world, you'll get more like 200 miles, especially in the colder weather and faster driving that I've experienced in the MG, although that will inch up to more like 230 miles in the summer. So I think the MG Cyberster is a car that suffers quite badly from a case of high expectations, because as it is, I find the Cyberster very hard to recommend because beautiful as it is, and I'm so glad that MG has done it to prove a point that, you know, electric cars are progressing and that we're getting somewhere with making cars that are really aspirational, electric cars that enthusiasts can get excited about. I'm all for that all day long. Yes, please, MG, and well done. But MG needs to do something now, because MG has already proven that it can facelift and update and tweak its cars very quickly. It did with the MG4, which we know is a very excellent family hatchback. And it brought that out and everybody said, the software on the infotainment's not very good. And within a year, they'd updated it. And now they've added more batteries, and within a very short period of time, they've really kind of tweaked the stuff that was wrong with it. Well, MG, I think the ball's back in your court now, because you've launched a very interesting, very exciting car, and it is completely blighted by this interface. It's just not, it doesn't work. It's not easy to use, no matter how hard you try and familiarise yourself with it. So come on, you've got the bones of a great car here. So let's see what you can do and how quickly you can do it with changing all of this. Because if you change this, make this better and easier to use, well, drop the seat for a better driving position, and then you're onto a winner. Even Porsche might be worried then. Head to CarGurus.co.uk for a whole host of fantastic used cars. There are some great used electric cars out there too. Please do like the video, subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel, leave us a nice comment if you fancy it, and turn your notifications on so that you don't miss any of our videos.